Told you not to shit on my grass. Greetings YouTube, LMS Tactical here. It's now Saturday, cold here in Virginia, but as we get closer to Monday and the pro-Second Amendment rally that's going to take place at the Capitol in Richmond, Virginia, just a little reminder, and I know that we all know these things, but it's good sometimes to hear them, and I'm talking to myself too. I like to remind myself. But for those of you who are going to be carrying weapons, which is, I'm assuming, is going to be most of you, remember, you have to really have a clear understanding now, at all times, before you use deadly force, as to when and how you're going to respond to a threat. Having been there, I'm going to tell you that when the dust settles and the legal nightmares begin, which can last for years, you're going to be held accountable for everything from the drawing of your weapon. You know, the courts will look at it. Was it reasonable for a person to draw a weapon under that particular circumstance? And then to, God forbid, you have to actually use deadly force. And then you're going to be held accountable for every single bullet that leaves that weapon. So hopefully, and I pray, that no shots will be fired and there'll be no violence. That's what I want. That's what I hope. I'm sure that's what we all hope. If you're hoping for violence, you're on the wrong team. But keep in mind, you're in a crowd. I don't know how many people are going to be there. They were talking about 10,000. It's probably going to be, I don't know. I won't predict. But when you're in a crowded situation, no matter how big the crowd is, whether it's 3 people or 3 million, you know, you've got to be very mindful of what happens once you discharge a firearm. You know, when shots are fired in a situation like that, you don't necessarily pull your weapon out when you've got countless innocent people around you. You need to know where the threat is, what the threat is, and if it pertains to you or somebody else. And when you decide to take action, and I know I'm walking around a lot, that upsets somebody, but I've got really bad back pain, so I move around a lot, especially when it's cold. Just look away if it's making you seasick. But you know, when you decide to get involved, make sure you know when you're going to get involved ahead of time. You know, what proverbial line has to be crossed. The justification for using deadly force is to prevent death or great bodily harm to yourself or others. Now, if you're in a crowd and shots are being fired from far away, or you hear it in the vicinity, it's probably not a good idea to start pulling out a gun. And here's why. Because law enforcement or other people that are armed are going to hear gunshots too. And when they see you whip out your fucking Glock or whatever you're carrying, they may honestly think you're the guy that's shooting into the crowd. And so you don't want to have blue on blue violence where good guys are shooting bad, or good guys are shooting good guys. You have to make sure that you are clearly identified as a person who is doing the right thing and not mixed in with the bad guys. If somebody's randomly firing into the crowd, I would suggest that you do your best to get into a place of cover and establish all simultaneously where the threat's coming from, help the people around you that need help, and don't focus so much on stopping the threat unless it's right there where you can see it happening. You know, I mean, we're talking about a large area, and the worst thing that could happen in my mind is a bunch of people pulling guns out and all kinds of mistakes being made and misidentifications being made. And then law enforcement or whoever is there, military, whoever, would be justified in their minds to just start unloading if they see a bunch of fucking people shooting each other. You don't want to give people these opportunities to make these mistakes. So you gotta be part of the solution and not part of the problem. You know, hopefully your weapon will never leave its place of concealment, and if it does, be prepared for a lifetime of second guessing and quite possibly some serious legal ramifications. So, I'm not saying that you need to compromise your safety or the safety of others, but you need to be very smart about what you're doing. That doesn't just apply to this rally. That applies to any time you leave the house with a weapon on. You need to know when you will use it and when you won't. You know, we don't display it to scare somebody. We don't display it as a show of power. We only display it when we're going to use it. and we always reserve the option to change our mind based on a constant evaluation. So hopefully that makes sense. I just want you guys to all be safe, myself included, and cool heads must prevail. If shots are fired, that does not mean that we get into the battle right away. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you got one rogue dude that's going crazy. Let whoever's in a better position put him down. If you're 100 yards away from somebody when you've got a pistol and some guy's fucking unloading, you don't want to be shooting 100 yards through a crowd of people. Trust me on that one. Anyways, that makes sense. Great. If not, throw in your comments. And in any case, be safe. LMS Tactical, I'm out. Somebody's happy. He's happy. Get him, Mason. Tick, 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 tick. He is happy to be here. Good boy. Get it, Mason. Good boy. Let's go walking. Silly boy. Somebody's happy. He's happy. Get him, Mason. Tick, 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 tick. He is happy to be here. Good boy. Get it, Mason. Good boy. Let's go walking. Silly boy. Told you not to shit on my grass.